Ora, everybody seated. Okay, so good evening, everyone, in situ and online and in all locations. Welcome to the IALD Southern European Chapter Pecha Kucha night, where light meets storytelling across the Southern European borders. Tonight we'll be hearing from 10 brilliant speakers from 5 different countries, each offering their own unique view and perspective of lighting and lighting design. For anyone new to Pecha Kucha, just a bit of information. Each speaker has 20 slides, 20 seconds per slide that go automatically, so you'll be seeing a lot of chasing around. Please hold the applause for the end of the presentation. A little bit of housekeeping, mostly for the online people joining us. So all microphones are automatically muted. However, you will be able to unmute yourselves during the Q&A session at the end of all the talks. So we encourage you to use the chat if you want for comments, questions, saying hello to people you know that you see online as well, and any technical issues you might encounter along the event. For your information, this session is being filmed and is being recorded, and it will be made available on the IALD YouTube channel. In case you don't feel comfortable, the people in situ, tough luck. The people online, you can just turn off your cameras. Some GDPR notice, we kind of have to do that. Please be respectful and mindful about your comments and contributions. If anything is even slightly inappropriate, trust me, the IALD will jump in and kind of turn off your cameras. So tonight is all about celebrating creativity and experience. And as some of you may know, this event is also part of the official calendar of activities of the UNESCO International Day of Light for 2025. There are plenty of other activities around the world. Feel free to have a look. This event is also part of the IALD's mission to serve both the worldwide membership as well as the community through the Education Trust and the Lighting Industry Resource Council, also known as the LIRC. You can learn more about it on the IALD website, so for whomever is interested. We are, there we go, you'll see in a minute, the Education Trust, some of you might be familiar with, and the LIRC, which is the manufacturer's kind of side of the IALD. We are very grateful of the collaboration with our 5 sponsors, which is Loon, Varona, and LIRC members, Ledlux, Iguzzini, and OM. Don't forget to say hello to the guys here in Athens. We have Petros and Nicole. You'll see them in a minute. So let's begin our journey around the world. First speaker, it is my honor and pleasure to introduce from Greece, Vasiliki Malakasi of IDEA Design. Her talk, 20 years in 20 seconds, explores some of the creative hiccups that Vicky has come across throughout the years. Vicky, all yours.
Thank you, Anna. Hello, everyone. Welcome tonight. I think it's going to be an interesting catch-up. I think when we're ready, we can start. And hello to all the IALD friends, online and in person. So, Acropolis Museum was one of the first challenging projects early in my career. In particular, the Caryatides Gallery, given the location of the sculptures and the downlights above, was very restricting, and therefore it created intense shadows on the statues. Obviously, that's something we wanted to avoid. The solution was given with side-emitting lighting, which obviously softened the effect, but created the silhouettes that you see on the sides of the walls. Not exactly what we wanted, expected, but nonetheless a poetic exercise. Dublin Airport was another large project which we were asked to integrate all circulation lighting, like you see here on the balustrade of the staircase, in a seamless way. Unfortunately, in our scope, were not included the escalators travelators, which was part of the engineering scope. And despite the best intention from the architects to opt for a linear approach, the engineer chose a very brilliant, high-performance LED, which created to these interesting interreflections. So the lesson learned was you have to, even if it's not in your scope, check out the spec for other parties involved. Malin&Guez was one of the first stores we did as idea design. We were asked by the client to produce a bespoke luminaire, but it also needed to perform as emergency. So you see this little green light, which had to be visible at all times, in a highly reflective ceiling, which was unforgiving. So therefore, we kind of hid it in the back, and we carefully selected the views for the cameras. That was the way to do it. I think we might have a bit of a tight temp. Okay, BMW and Rarity Gallery was a recent commission. We had to create a pop-up event to illuminate the sculptures and the fancy car. The brief from the client was for these two sculptures, the male and female figure, to be seen at all times as you entered in the two openings of this space. Unfortunately, the sculptures were misplaced and we could not move them, so we had to use the shadow effect to create the silhouettes at the entrances and obviously create a post-justification mechanism to come across in the end. It's like resolving it on site, effectively. On another project in Cyprus, we see how the local dealer convinced our client that these two LEDs, the balustrade lighting you see, and the uplight of the arches are of the same color temperature. So you tell me if you see that. Luckily, it's an ongoing project, so we're going there soon enough to fix this. On another interesting installation by the local electrician, which we assume it happened because he had some leftover LED tapes in his bag. You can see here an interesting installation. Obviously, that had to be also rectified. As much as you're trying as a lighting designer to create a balance and to hide the LED sources, there is always a client who comes with a barbecue at the end of the solution and has his own lighting to improvise. And that's all we can see, literally, every time we take a shot, we can see that detail in the background. So you have to be careful with the selection. Another client of ours decided that he needed a tinted foil for the mosquitoes, a net of some sort, which creates a sort of different color temperature effect. We didn't even try to do that. It happened automatically. You cannot control these things on site, unfortunately. And on the same project, you see here on your left the mock-up, of which we had this grazing effect under the steps leading to the entrance. They were supposed to be treated, but they were left untreated, so you can see all the exposed concrete and the cracks and all the little details of the material. Because light, as we all know, it is not exactly forgiving. This is one of our most celebrated hotel projects in Lefkara. It was well designed, well executed, well photographed, I would like to say. But there is also the attention to the details that one has to notice, that they kind of chase you and they follow you with time. For the LED uplighting on the facade, you see the white finish, which is actually in contrast to the background, which is slightly off beige color. This actually is something that haunts us to this day, because this is on our way to work every day, and I cannot help but notice this detail every time. I wish we went for a RAL color instead. As much as you're trying to organize the works on site, to provide detailed drawings, to coordinate with services and installers, there is always a surprise factor that has to do with the coordination and obviously the people misinterpreting things on site. As you can see here in the ceiling, we are all fighting for the same spot. So where we have the LEDs located, we have the plasterboard fixing and the cables behind. So you have to be ready to roll up your sleeves and obviously arrange and rearrange things on site to make up for this. Another residential project in Paros, the client asked us to respect the existing positions of the wall lights. So we couldn't move anything. As a result, given that we had very restricted positioning, we had opted to include a tensile structure and uplight and create this nice effect at the entrance. The LEDs are not exactly where we would have wanted them. Again, we couldn't move the LED fittings, but we had to play with the existing materials, create a play with shadows given the plants, and obviously redirect the views where we wanted to add drama. At the end of the day, as lighting designers, we are about composition, about the hierarchy, the background, the foreground, the different lighting layers. It's important for us to be able to follow our narrative, because after all, lighting is about storytelling. But in the end of the day, it's equally important to learn how to compromise and to post-justify. Thank you very much.
Thank you much. Thank you very much, Vicky. This was quite an insight. We've all kind of experienced some of these things. So we're off to Croatia. Ivica, over to you.
Are we good to go? Okay, great. Super. And for Croatia, today the first speaker, I'm honored to present Marko Bolkovic of Visualia Festival. His talk is called Thankful for the Mistakes, where he will examine how we learn and how we better ourselves and our projects from the mistakes we make. Marko is the founder and director of Visualia Festival, which focuses on 3D mapping, lighting design, and new technologies. He leads the Visualia Group collective, which specializes in new technologies and has performed at various festivals in Croatia and abroad. So here's Marko and his presentation.
Thank you very much. Hi, guys. Thank you. Okay. 20 slides, 20 seconds. We are ready. Yes. Okay. So I'm going to give you a few tips what I learned in my career. The first thing I learned, if you want to change the three-phase connector, the electricity, you need to take out all three fuses. Otherwise, if you take out only one, you know what will happen. I learned that the hard way when I was 14. So I got electrocuted, and that's how I learned what is good with the electricity. The other thing is really important. Connect your cables really well. Otherwise, if the music is too loud on the concert where you're doing your installation, the cable might fall off, and then you're going to be 2 songs out of it without knowing why it's not synced. Here we did a really nice project with a car. We wanted to build a car made out of LED lights. So we were really concentrated to build the LED lights, to program it and do it like that. What we didn't think about was the deadlines. That's how we learned that the deadlines are really important, because we did finish the car and it was really sparkling, as you can see it here. But the problem was the car didn't drive because we were not concentrated on the motor. So in the end, we just presented like that, as you can see it, and we showed it as a road show. So we did this one in 2017. Hopefully it will drive this year. I really hope so. So we will see what will happen. Here is a good example of it's never too much to test anything. For instance, we do a lot of projection mapping, and we were a bit cocky and we thought like, okay, we don't need to do some testing. We know how it works. But if you don't do that, maybe you'll need to take a microphone and tell it to the audience. Unfortunately, we're not going to play a mapping because we have some technical issues. We didn't test that right. The other thing is public light is the worst enemy of light festivals, because in this case, the guy who should turn off the public light went home to watch football game and didn't come back. So yeah, we had this kind of few situations that were fun. With this one, it was really fun, interactive installation where you hug a tree and the tree says, thank you very much. Well, the problem is we didn't set up the timers well, so we got a call from the police in 3 in the morning because the branches were moving around. So the tree was telling at 3 in the morning, thank you for hugging me. So the neighbors called the police. Here is the situation where we did such a perfect planning. We did it for 2 months, 60 volunteers, 20 people in the production. We did an analog installation with the switches in houses. So we basically put the volunteers to press up switches, and we wrote different things and played Tetris. We really planned it a lot. What we didn't expect, and we were doing this only for 1.5 minutes, that the guy, one of the owners, will come into the apartment and take a shower during the show. So you could see his silhouette while we were doing this performance. It was really fun. And yeah, anyway, for us, it was kind of a new thing, what we learned, that we cannot predict everything. Here is the project we did called Light and Dark. And we as a team, we really wanted to learn new stuff. So we bought a CNC machine. We bought a lot of acrylic glass that we never worked with. So it was fun for us to play with it, learn new things. The problem was, as you can see it here, we built it in the end. But the first time we started building it, we built half of the installation. And then we understood we cut it up for 3 millimeters too short, and we needed to throw away all the works we did in the last 2 months, which was kind of demotivating, but we learned on those mistakes that it can be, we needed to do those mistakes so to learn new stuff about it. The other thing that happened on this project was the location. As you can see it on the pictures, it's really beautiful when it's inside, but my first idea was I really want to put it outside in a beautiful quarry near Pula, where it can be like a really beautiful video. So we decided to do it during summer, during July. You will see the picture later why that wasn't so smart. But the thing that happened is that a summer storm came during night. So we were setting it up for 22 hours from the morning. As you can see on this picture, that wasn't so smart to do it during summer because we didn't have any shades. Anyway, this was the first time that we set it up and tried to test it if it's working, but the summer storm came up during night and destroyed more than half of the installation. I don't know what we learned there, but it was kind of depressing. Here you can see our beautiful team so enthusiastic to do some of my new stupid ideas. So this was a Guinness World Record we did in the amphitheater. What was the idea? First of all, the idea was that we're gonna set up 4,000 people inside of the amphitheater and write out Pula plus Istria with small LED lights. So as you can see it here, we set up on the floor the marks, and we ordered around 5,000 LED lamps for the people, which they came, and it was supposed to be green, white, and yellow, but in the end, the yellow one didn't came up. So 6 nice guys did the whole night with nail polish, and they were painting the white LEDs into yellow. I don't know why didn't women do that, but we learned a lot of nice stuff during that night. So in the end, we made it possible. That's how we learn. It's always important to improvise. And here's something emotional really happened to me. As you can see, there was a lot of people. This is just the volunteers that were coordinating people inside of the amphitheater. Since there was 4,000 people, and to do a Guinness World Record, it's really complex because one person at a time needs to enter. So there was already 4,000 people inside, and we needed to close the gates because it was too much time for that. So I was the one who needed to shut down the door in front of the kid, and her mother told her, "Look at this man. This is the reason you're not going to be in the record, and you were waiting here for 6 hours." So that was really kind of emotionally depressing for me. But in the end, we did the record. And in the end, what I wanted to say, I'm really grateful for all the mistakes we did in the past, because we learned a lot of new stuff, and it brought us here where we are today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Marco. We're over to Italy with Natalie.
Thank you, Ivica. Here we are in Milan, Italy, and I'm going to present you Susanna Antico from Lumit Studio. She's a lighting designer who is going to introduce us to services off the radar. So what we can offer as lighting designer beyond specifications, and how to get stuck into working sites. Here the word to Susanna Antico.
Susanna, say ready when you are, please.
Hi, I'm ready. Thank you. Nice to be here. Wonderful to be here. Yes, this is Crespidada, UNESCO Patrimony Workers Village near Bergamo, Italy. Between 2003 and 2009, Bianca Tresoldi and I designed the new lighting system for the village. We managed to complete 2 out of 3 parts of the project. And the lighting system had bespoke poles, bespoke brackets, and bespoke luminaires. In 2023, I go to Crespi and I discovered that someone else had done phase 3 of the project without consulting us, but also ignoring completely our project and putting the luminaires in front of the nice facade, iconic facade of the building. This is Kortrijk 2009-2011. Following the request of the Monument Commission, we did color the fixtures in yellow to match the limestone. Unfortunately, there were also gray stone and not only yellow ones. So the contrast was visible and the luminaires were really visible. What you can't see from this slide is that the painting was also shiny, so the luminaires were so visible. And air pollution and sun helped, but no one helped with the fact that the luminaires were not centered between the two windows. This project could really win a prize as one of the worst ones, but as you can see, the brackets are not fastening to the joints, but they're fastened right in the middle of the precious limestones. But yes, the pigeon detectors were respected. Brussels, Muntplein in 2011-2012, a completely new square with pedestrian lighting, lighting under the benches and recessed lighting. Everything was done in order to have a system that would have been able to, remain despite the tough area. As you can see, not long after the installation, the recessed lighting failed and the lighting no longer worked, but the luminaires also became just a place for debris with a really sad and bad look at daytime. Same place, Mechelen as before with the worst project. We are ready, the focusing is done, and we are nearing the inauguration. And we got a phone call from the Department of Public Lighting with a request from the client if it was possible to have the same lighting color on the facade. Kortrijk, always 2011, the problem is not the color of the lighting that appears green, but it's not so bad in the reality. The really bad thing is that one of the windows on the right is completely dark because one in-ground is missing and the facade is distorted. Cascinare Anverso, Torino, Italy, a cozy dining room, warm white light, and in the back, the kitchen that requires neutral white light and really high lighting levels. So two very contrasting situations. Yes, what happens that the lighting of the kitchen is not dimmable. Well, something happens. So the transition between the two spaces is really a problem. We solved it hanging the luminaires upside down and getting reflected light in the surrounding of the windows between the dining room and the kitchen. Bruges, always 2011-2012. This is a picture of the real place. It's not a test. The client decided to discard the lighting of the left side and the lighting system of the upper part of the tower. It was never installed. And the same client didn't bother about the fact that one of the metal halides was green. It wasn't necessary to change it. So, you see a bad picture because we decided not to send a photographer there and also not to publish the project because it wasn't worth doing. We are in Switzerland, Fribourg, 2020, COVID time, so a lot of the site supervision was done with videos. And I was insisting, what are the glare lines above the linears on the first floor? Can't you direct the luminaires towards the facade? Don't you see it's glary? The truth is that the luminaires were installed correctly, they were directed correctly, but this kind of luminaire has the glass that protects the luminaire above the housing, so you cannot avoid that glary edge that remains visible. The manufacturer suggested putting a piece of tape. We didn't go for it. A staircase, again, in Fribourg. This staircase is newly rebuilt with this nice and elegant luminaires with a bespoke attachment between the luminaire and the balustrade. But then, when the scaffolding of the bridge was removed, we saw that the tie rats for the anti-suicidal nets were right on the third landing in front of the beautiful lighting and creating this really clumsy atmosphere. This is the picture, the only picture I have of a night survey that I intended to do, but reaching Hout-Helm-Helter and in the middle of nowhere in Belgium went really wrong. Everything went wrong in this trip, but I managed at a certain point to reach the hotel and I get an idea of what there was. This is a picture of me, and this picture has to remind me forever that you never close the bathroom door if you are the only person inside an hotel where there is no personnel and you don't leave your phone outside the door. I still don't know how I managed to leave because the opening of the door, I mean, the door locked and I was inside. But I can tell you in the Q&A how I got out. I managed to reach the site, do my meeting. The project now is on hold, and I'm not so sorry about that because I still have really bad memories of that trip.
So, thank you, Susanna. I'm gonna give the word to Noemi in Spain. Thank you.
Hello. Our next speaker here in Spain is Guillermo Martínez Pajares. His talk, the power of concept, is about how a strong concept is the best ally and can adapt to any challenges and changes that come up during a project. And using a very special case study, the Mathematics Winter Gallery in London. So welcome, Guillermo.
Thank you very much. Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming. Let's go. So Noemi was mentioning, we're talking about the Mathematics Gallery in the London Science Museum that we worked a few years ago. And I picked this project because it never gets old and because of all the unexpected things that came out during the design and construction process and all the lessons that we learned from it. And I'm not going to focus on the technicalities of the design, but more on the power of a strong design and a good design, and how a good design can help you tackle all these challenges that for sure will arise in your projects all the time. So we work with Sahadid architects in this project, and they literally put a real size plane in the center of the gallery. So we studied the flight of this plane. So how the air moves through the gallery, and how this airflow created by the plane shaped the gallery, shaped the architecture, all the architectural elements, and ultimately the user experience in the gallery, how the gallery and the artifacts were experienced. And so this is a plan view of the gallery. At the center of the gallery, we have the plane. Surrounding the plane, we have the central pots, which resemble this airflow. And you can see how everything follows this airflow. So you have the floor pattern, you have the different ways between the showcases that users have to follow. And the central piece was this plane, the Hanley Pace Rooknook. It was specifically designed for a flying competition in the States in 1929. And it had some special flaps that allowed the plane to take off and land very slowly. So that's the predecessor of commercial flights. So we have a plane. We want to base the concept on the plane. And we studied these special flaps and found out that depending on the position of the flaps, we would have a linear airflow, or if the flaps were down, a turbulent airflow. And this is our concept. This is our lighting concept. So The linear airflow inspired all the calm and continuous elements in the gallery, sort of the boundaries, like the cove on the perimeter and these lines of light that we drew on the floor to help users move across. And the turbulent flow inspired the sort of the drama, the dynamism, and the character of the gallery. And we applied this turbulent flow onto these central pieces, which are called the pots. And these shapes are beautiful. So as in every concept, you have to pick a specific and good element. And this is when the story and when the problems comes. We pick the rotor of the plane. So the rotor rotates, generates movement. It made sense to us. And it's white in the pictures. But reality check, you get to the gallery, the plane is there, and the rotor is black. Black as a black hole black, as physics tell you not to light a black object. And we based all our concept on that specific element. So what you have to do, you have to come up with a strong concept that allows you to be resilient, that allows you to be flexible. And what we did was, instead of focusing on the tip of the plane, we opened up, we had to change the specification of fixtures, the position of fixtures, to open up the lighting effect. So it's not the tip of the plane creating the movement, but the entire plane moving across the gallery that creates this airfield. Another lesson learned, we work with architects, we work with drawings, we work with renders like this one. And the lesson learned is that you have to challenge this. If we did this, we would have a very flat ambient lighting, same levels all across the gallery. What we did was to cut down the ceiling lights, put the lights into the showcases, and this allowed us to lower light levels in the gallery, increase the contrast, and let color take the presence. So we saturated the space while keeping a very nice and very dramatic effect on the objects. Of course, the problem with the downlights didn't disappear. We still had to commission this. This is another lesson learned. So beware when you are designing what you put on paper, it will eventually be built. So think about where you put the lights. Are they accessible? How they are going to be mounted, and how they're going to be maintained. It was funny because we had to buy some fishing chairs and took them with us to the gallery while they're commissioning, because every commissioning each of these lights, there were hundreds, took between 10 and 15 minutes. Eventually, we had to do it ourselves and went up the new value engineering, of course, our dearest friend. Another lesson learned, you have to embrace value engineering, and you have to come up with a concept that is resilient to value engineering. What we learned, not to marry things. This rotor could be anything. Let go. Okay, be flexible. So the concept, a good concept and strong concept, absorbs all these changes, all these unexpected things. It gives you structure, and it gives you a clear direction of where you want to go and what you have to do. So it's not a nice to have thing with your project. You could have a more poetic concept, you could have a more pragmatic concept, but have a concept because it will be a good ally for you for when things get messy, and they will get messy, and you will face challenges. So don't skip the concept, regardless the size of your project. It could be a gallery, it could be an airport, it could be a corridor. Don't rush to fixtures or simulations. This is a problem we normally have. People jump onto fixture specification. So take the time to shape your concept and shape and trust your idea. Thank you.
Powerful presentation. Thanks for sharing. And let's go to the next host in Portugal, Martina.
Martina, sorry, you're gonna have to start again because you did
Yes,
not.
I just noticed that. So, hello again. Thank you, Noemi, for it. So we were closing today the first half of the speakers with Joanna Mendo. She's an architect, lighting designer, and together with Paula Reina, she's running the independent lighting design studio Filamento in Lisbon. Her talk, What Can Go Wrong, delves into the delightful messiness of everyday real life lighting experience. So floor is yours. Welcome, Joanna.
Thank you, thank you. Thank you, Martina. Long live the Southern Chapter, Southern Europe Chapter. Thanks for inviting us, and to OM for having us. Can we? So I brought a bit of a mix because thanks for the challenge for me to find these slides. We are never documenting enough what goes wrong, was my conclusion. We are more worried in the moment to solve what's going on and or trying to find solutions. So I decided to bring a bit of a mix of professional and personal life. On the projects, what went wrong, some of the worst things that happened, I think, were related to this kind of projectors. And we found that, you know, instead of applying luminaires that we put in the projects, we came to site and found that they only had that kind of projectors. So we had to be creative, as in this installation here in Porto, temporary installation. So we didn't have much time, so we got some plastic tubes, some tape, and everybody was giving ideas, and we came up with some really nice solutions and put everybody just discussing about lighting and about light and about effects and how to avoid glare and where to hide the projectors, because we really only had that awful projector to work with, and had to light the whole park. So this was another case, same kind of projectors. I get some messages from a client say, look, this is great, 30 euros for a pack of 10, why not? It does the same as the ones you have in the project, so I'm just gonna get them. Maybe I get 2 packs, and we can do the whole garden. So, and then he actually went on and installed the whole thing without me having time even to respond, and sent me these pictures. I asked, so what do you think? How does it look like? Oh, I wish they had a better color, a bit warmer, and I was able to dim it. Okay, great. Next time, maybe. This was another example. We came to site, everything was installed. We were actually a bit critical. Maybe the angle could be different, the color could be a bit better. Maybe next time we use zoom projectors so we can really fine-tune and improve things. And then the client informs that they're actually going to do a video mapping show every night during dinner, and we didn't know. So, you know, it can always be worse. And we had to deal with this, but why not? I mean, people are happy. Same project. We actually thought the restaurant was quite under control in terms of lighting, was looking quite nice. The ambience, the specs were, the client got the luminaires we had in the project. Everything seemed to be going well, and then the decorators came in and decided that the ceiling needed something else. So there was no dolly, nothing that could help. And yeah, and in this case, not everybody was happy, not even the clients, obviously. This was another case, a lot of work put into detail, public projects, lighting, integrating lighting in this massive piece of concrete. We don't want to see where the light comes from. We just want, you know, a public square and the entrance to the metro lit. And then we get there, and the metro couldn't deal with it. The city hall couldn't deal with it. So we ended up with these huge perforations on the concrete, which I think only Paula and I were really suffering. Nobody else seemed to be suffering so much. And then I brought some things here because I think this is a bit common to Southern Europe countries, that some of my best experiences in food and restaurants were connected to terrible lighting and to bad lighting, to bad experiences. This is Lisbon's #1 restaurant in terms of food, in my opinion. Always packed, people happy, cheering, eating as if there was no tomorrow, queuing outside. This is how it looks from outside. And that's how it looks from the inside. So the lighting is just like that. This is my #2 favorite. Also how it looks from outside, not very appealing. And on the inside, it's this lighting scheme with a diffuse panel, some downlights, looking everything pretty plain, but why not, right? The food is great. These are some other examples, a bit more in the interior. Someone obviously thought about it, and there was some decisions here, but you wonder, you know, they have other concerns. And but these were some memorable moments and experiences, and sometimes they are connected with bad lighting. We don't even notice. I think we notice because we are lighting designers, but I believe that many people just enjoy this experience regardless of the bad lighting. So imagine if the lighting was good. And like these street fests, for example, we have a lot, I think, in Southern Europe, in Lisbon here, the Sant Antonio. The light is the worst. You cannot see anyone. It's all glary, it's all messy, it's all full of smoke with glary lighting, open sources and lamps mixed with public lighting. Or these toilets, this one on the left is my favorite in the world. The blue light leads to the men, the pink one leads to the ladies. And this on the right, I think it's a bit overdone for a toilet, but why not? So, you know, these are memorable experiences. So I guess my conclusion was, yeah, there's always something beautiful about it, even if it goes really wrong. There can be something that we can take home for next time, and even some inspirations or bringing out the creativity that we have. So, thank you.
Well, thank you so much,
Thank you.
Joanna. It was quite an engaging first half of the speakers, and now we start with the second round already. So back to you, Grace. Back to you, Anna.
Thank you, Joanna, and thank you, Martina. So back in Greece, we welcome Gavril Papadiotis from Gavrilax. Some of us lighting designers all around the world, I think, know him too well, I would say. His talk is 10 worst things that happened to me while photographing lighting. So that will give us a bit of an insight from the other side of the lens as well. And a bit of a fun fact is that Gavril used to be a lighting designer himself for quite a few years in London. So not necessarily to our favor as lighting designers, but he knows what he sees and therefore knows what he photographs. And he's seen lighting from both sides of the lens. So, Gavril, please.
Hey. Right. I just want to thank Anna for the invitation. It's so nice to be here, just a bit stressed, so I'm just going to be reading everything out. I hate notes, but you know, you're going to have to deal with it. Right, so I'm ready. Sorry, I think that's a different presentation. We don't have the new one because that's the old slides. I know that Irini. Yeah, so that's too many things missing. Okay, so this is one of my favorite projects, the Acropolis lighting. So while I was documenting that project, I had to go back to the Lycabettus Hill 7 or 8 times, just to make sure that I get the perfect sky, the perfect atmosphere, and Actually, is it okay if we pause it and I'll give you the slides that I have? Because these are different order, different photos, all kind of messed up. Sorry. Okay, I'll go with that. Time-wise, I had to go back and take the same photos with a 24-hour deadline because we had to present to the public the result at its best. This is the Meganisi project. I stayed up until maybe 4 a.m. with Anna shooting this project. And then I had the fabulous idea to wake up 2 hours later to actually get some more photos at sunrise. At least the result kind of speaks for itself, which is great. This I had cut out from the presentation, but technically, while I was taking this photo, at some point 5 seconds in, we lost all the pool lights, and I had to wait for 2 hours for the electrician to figure out how the time clock works. So that's not very that's not very cool when it's like 5 a.m. and you've been shooting for like 6 nights straight. But you know, you have to learn how to deal with that. This is the Four Seasons in Doha, the Four Seasons, and we had been waiting for like 9 days for the electricians to resolve a problem with the driver, which led for the top tower on the top to be, the left tower on the top to be off, and they didn't know how to resolve it. So eventually, on the 9th day, I had the idea to go back and take this photo. The electricians had resolved the issue, but they didn't tell the marketing team, so I didn't know. That was just a random decision for me to just go back to a different project and photograph it again. So yeah, problem solved for the client and for myself, which was great. This is more of a case of how to try to resolve any technical issues that happen with your gear. So here is a way to kind of cut down on reflections when you have too many glossy surfaces and there's things which are a bit kind of distracting to the eye. You take multiple photos, use different kinds of gear, you use a polarizer filter, and then you kind of make things work. Going back to the Hellenic Parliament, tricky bit with this one is that we had to take photos of tourists which were running all around. We had a change of the guards every so while, and I had a team of people that were running around to shut all the blinds shut. There were 52 of them, different offices, different back of house areas, and I was just sweating loads because we were waiting for Blue Hour to pass. So that was good fun. If you know Syntagma Square, similar photo further away, there is a massive kiosk with an illuminated ad at the bottom right, which is very distracting. I ended up photoshopping that out, so just trying to solve problems that we have when photographing. This is the Mandarin Oriental in Costa Navarino. Again, same issue when you try to photograph their best restaurant, which is open every night at dusk, and there's too many people. You have to be patient and take the same photo again and again and again and try to remove people from the photo. Going to bureaucracy issues, I had 20 minutes to fly a drone. I spent 2 days trying to get the permissions because apparently these guys at the marina in Vouliagmeni, they have a helipad. So you have to be in constant communication so a helicopter doesn't crash your drone or the opposite way. I don't want to think about that. This is another fun one with drones. This is the Hellenic Park in Alimos. And this used to be the main airport in Athens, and keyword is used to be, but you still have to take all kinds of permissions to fly there, even though there's no active flights. So that was fun. Again, too much bureaucracy, too many emails back and forth. This is me trying to take photos of the full moon above the Temple of Poseidon in Sunio. The tricky bit in that situation, the photo is a bit grainy, it's not the final one, but I was super scared because I was flying really close to seagulls above water. The drone was really far into the Aegean Sea, and I was just trying to make a photo. So yeah, eventually the drone didn't crash, so thank God. Other issues, weather, humidity, having to deal with hotel management teams, pool management teams, cleaning crews, trying to get on that pool terrace on the ones that built in Dubai, try to take the photo at its best, well, the sky doesn't look great, when the sky, looks great, and yeah, without any sort of people there. When you have projects like that, that's more for interior designers, try to avoid having this type of fabric, because we spend 2 hours trying to comb every mark that's on that, apart from spending another hour aligning the furniture. That's a nightmare. An issue that happens in restaurants with open kitchens is that you always have extract hood lighting that's always blasting the space. For this occasion, we had to spend an hour setting up the restaurant and 2 hours blocking all the extract hood lighting because apparently there's no off switch. What's with that? Now, when you have a restaurant, when you have a hotel like that in Dubai, amazing view, amazing scenery, you have to coordinate good weather, which you can control, good humidity, which you can control, and then facade lighting, all the furniture around the pool terrace, basically not having any naked guests on the balconies across. So there's a lot of things you have to take into account. And moving on to the Dalwich Picture Gallery, what we have here is that trying to photograph an exhibition of Rembrandt's Light in 2 hours only, while having guests arriving, you have the press running around, and then you have to use the museum staff as models. This is another favorite of mine, that's the National Museum of Qatar. And we were given 2 days to take the photos, 2 hours each day from 7 to 9 a.m. We could only use extras, so we don't photograph any of the locals. So here there's like 5 people in the photo that I actually try to move around and retake the same photo to actually make it look populated. And I also spent something like 45 minutes to get my camera out from a 20-degree interior to a 48-degree exterior without all the condensation. So yeah, thank you for that.
Thank you very much, Gavin. Sorry for the curved ball, but as we can all see, you're used to curved balls and impromptu responses. So back to Croatia. Ivica, over to you again for the next presentation.
Thank you, Anna. We have now here in Croatia with us Leonid Zuban and Dino Krizmanic of Molo Zero. They have a very interesting title to their presentation. It's called Navigating Simplexity, and they will try to explore the intricate connection of light and architecture and the process of resolving complex problems with collaborative and hands-on approach. Their work on architectural projects has been on various scales and typologies and functions, and they regularly participate and are awarded with numerous architectural and urban design competitions or awards, nationally and internationally. Some of the projects that stand out in their opus is the Church of Saint Anne in Rijeka and the entrance of the Eurasia Tunnel in Istanbul in Turkey. So Dino and Leonid.
Tell us whenever you're ready.
Ready? Yeah, we're ready. Thank you.
So, hello. We are aware that tonight we have to speak about the 10 worst things that happened to us with lighting. But since we have worked with Dejan Skira, we don't have any problems with the lighting. And so the worst thing that happened in our project, you will see, is come from another direction. The context of this project is a tunnel connecting Europe and Asia. Our task was to design the entrance to the tunnel from both sides. An entrance 250 meters away, dislocated from the physical entrance. We concluded that the entrance should be an approach and not just a point. As a compositional element, we use the arch, a traditional architectural element. The complexity of the form needed to be controlled with a single simple element. We work on a rationalization of the complex form without losing the purity of the concept. And what happened? The worst thing that could happen, coup d'etat, literally. Out part of the project that literally connects two continents built during political chaos was completed in just 7 months. So the worst possible scenario that you can imagine. And everything worked well.
Okay, this is a project for a roundabout in Pula, which is essentially a hydrotechnical structure for solving flood issues in that part of the city. The worst thing about this project is that we wanted to add an ephemerical and poetic mist-like effect to the design using sprinklers. But at first try, the mist was everywhere. It was inside, outside the roundabout. It got so bad that the traffic got stopped. Basically, a drainage structure ended up flooding itself. So fortunately, later on, we put the mist under control and everything went well. The roundabout, as you can see, has an impressive area of 15,000 square meters. Imagine that it's so huge that you need like 10 minutes to walk around it. It features a dynamic ring formed by 340 steel rods installed along its perimeter, emphasizing the theme of movement. The dynamic ring bends inward at one point as a symbolic gesture marking the entrance to the city. The project also features the continuous LED ring of lighting, which was installed along the perimeter of a roundabout. It became a recognizable landmark at the city entrance, so whenever there is a special event or celebration in the city, the roundabout is lit up in colors that symbolizes this occasion. Okay, this is the next project is also an interesting one because it's all about lighting. It didn't got built, and you will find out why. It's a project for Guzzini in Recanati, Italy, which is a design for a device for researching, developing a presentation of outdoor lighting. The worst thing here is also the most noble one. As the financial crisis hit, the client had to choose either to build the lab or keep the employees. And beautifully, and that says a lot about the Guzzini, they chose their people. The elliptical form of the device emerged from the derivation of a light distribution diagram, but we didn't want to show this form explicitly on the outside. So we took one single type of lighting pole that Guzzini produces, and by the method of superposition, we formed an envelope around the device. One pole even changes color to subtly mark the pavilion entrance, while another, built from tensioned wires, serves as a wireframe model of the same object. This is all further amplified by the mirror finish of the device facade. So through the envelope's depth, reflection, and the interplay of light and shadow, the entire structure gradually dematerializes. And the boundary between interior and exterior begins to blur, evoking the cessation of a mirage.
Our next project is a parking system. It is designed to solve parking issues in limited space, especially in the historic city center. The system 3 models of steel structure mean 30 vehicles. The standard project was already quite completed and there was no facade. The worst thing that can happen from day one, the project was trashed on social media, called the ugliest thing in the town. That is when we're given the task of designing the facade of the prefabricated system. So we start our research. To reduce the visual impact of the facade surface, we explored various elements to make it dynamic and to reduce the perception size. The facade was formed using modules composed of triangles with different angles, creating a play of light and shadow during the day and of course the night. But what happened? It went from an ugly duckling to something that the people started to accept. But still, what worst thing remains. The local will understand this. Franzi, a local artist and a sharp critic, wrote a very harsh song about it, and the joke started again.
And here is the last project for tonight's presentation, and it's an art park at Verudela here in Pula. And we started the talk, you remember, with a tunnel that connects two continents, but during the built during the coup d'etat. And yet from the idea to completion, the whole process took only 7 months. In Pula, just a kilometer from where we are sitting at the moment, a much smaller project in peacetime took 5 years. The worst thing here was that with all the characters and complications involved, it became so difficult that at times it felt like we wouldn't make it, but we did.
On the curtain, still the main element of the project. The names of the world's seas and oceans are engaged. It begins with the name of the cave where the park is located, and after crossing all these seas and oceans, it ends with the neighboring cove. And then it hits you. Even every cove is an ocean itself, and every project is an own universe. The first presented project connects continents. The last one connects two paths. So the question becomes clear. How big it really?
Big kudos to Dunja for helping us with the presentation. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Dino and Leonid. Thank you very much for promoting our local community and our local region of Istria. And we're on to Italy again with Natalie in Milano.
Thank you again, Ivica. Before giving the word, after the last presentation, which is not this one, but the next one of Portugal, I would like to remember to all of you online and in presence that if you have questions, there's going to be a Q&A. So please prepare them now if you want. You can raise your hand on Zoom or live if you want. And then we will give the word to the speakers. So let me introduce you now to Lisa Marchesi, or Lisa Marchesi Studio. She's a lighting designer based here in Milan. She's gonna introduce us to her presentation about under evaluation of lighting designer concepts on the working sites, and also when and how to switch off lightings. Here we go.
Thank you. And it's amazing to be here, and I'm ready if you want to start. Okay, in this project, we have planned to have an recessed and diffuse uniform lighting, achieving using a luminous panel. However, the millwork installed LED strips, and the result was a very stripped backlight effect. The second case is this one, and the client called us because they say that it was a nightmare in the store because there's a lot of scallops on the walls, and they ask if we can solve the problem because they are not able to resolve the situation. In one night, we just added some filter on the existing spot lighting, and we create a more diffusing lighting, and we redo completely the focusing for each spotlight, and we have completely changed the atmosphere inside the store. So it was not so complicated to create the good atmosphere. In this situation, we had a problem with the construction drawing because we receive a completely different construction drawing where there's no indication of the inspectable edges. And during the site construction, we need to move the installation of the spotlight in accordance to the real situation. And so we need to adjust the lighting project during the site work. So this is really typical, this situation. When we go on the site work, usually we need to adapt the situation. As in these cases, when we arrive, sorry, because I read the messages. When arriving the site work, we see that the architect down the high ceiling, and so we have a completely different than the usual. In that case, we have designed 18-meter alabaster suspension, and we have developed a very particular detailed drawing, but the electrician don't follow our indication, and the electrician create the hole for the power supply in a completely different position than we expected. And so as a result, we had to create a cover to conceal it. So the installation was very complicated from the last point. Another situation is that one is very similar to the other because the millwork don't follow our indication and our project. And when we arrive on the site, they say that it was not so complicated situation, but we have a project this detail in order to recess completely the spotlight, and the result was not what we have project. In these cases, the lighting supplier send a completely different lighting fixture, completely expose it, and in our project, we have developed the project with a completely recessed spotlight. We asked to the lighting supplier to send the correct one, and the general contractor must to redo completely the work in order to follow our project. So we find in different project this situation, and so we try to solve its cases. In this project, the client asked to us to go on site because the indirect light was not so nice and not so homogeneously. And we take the ladder and check the details, and the problem was the installation of the profile, because as you can see in the images, don't follow our detail because they don't create the correct detail and they don't install in the correct way the profile. So at the end, the client understands that the problem was not of the problem of the light, but the installation. In these cases, it's really similar because we have developed a lot of mock-up for this indirect light in this squared hole. But at the end, we find these shadows and the final effect was not what we have studied during the mock-up. As you can see here, we have the mock-up of the indirect lighting that we have studied for the project, and it was completely different than the execution. So we explain also with this very simple mock-up the situation. In this project was very critical, the situation of one area where the client don't involve us, but done the project directly with the architect, and the architect create this indirect lighting, but at the end, as you can see, the result was not so nice. So they asked us in what way we can solve the situation, and we suggest to remove completely the indirect lighting and add only a suspension just to create a more cozy atmosphere and not a linear LED lighting that can destroy completely the atmosphere inside of this particular building that was an historical building. So in that case, it is important that involve the lighting designer for each area of the project. And then we can solve the situation in a very fast way, as we can see. At the end, this is a problem relating to the product, because in this case, the lighting supplier have supplied this product with a magnetic fixing, but during the site fall down and for the heat problem. So we suggest, and we cooperated with the lighting supplier to change the fixing and don't using the magnetic, but with a mechanical fixing, because we're more safe for the people that was in the site. So we have worked directly also with the lighting supplier. Thank you.
Super. Thank you so much, Lisa. So I'm passing the word again to Spain. Noemi, thank you so much.
Hello, thank you. Our next speaker here in Spain is Marta Llamas of ARUP, and her talk, the six key actions to avoid the 10 worst things that can happen to you in lighting designs, will give us practical insights to minimize that nightmare moments that can happen to us during installation and design phases in every project. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Noemi, for the introduction. I'm ready. So when I received the topic, I decided to talk about some key actions that, in my experience, a lighting designer can take to achieve a successful project. When a lighting designer starts working on a project from the very early stages, you need to take care of the project until you leave it flat. So many things can happen in between, and I'm going to present these some 6 key actions in chronological order, illustrated with some examples from projects where I've been working. So the first key action would be to explain the importance of lighting design. We see because there is light. So light influences in the perception of the architecture, as well as the mood, emotions, and behavior of people. So it even affects their well-being and health. That's why lighting design is important in every space where people spend time. So second key action is to listen before you light. This means maintain a conversation with the client to collect relevant information. Ask open questions such as how do you imagine the space, what materials, colors, and textures. Is the space bright or dark? How people move, or what kind of activities take place there? So in this project, the client's priority was to highlight the beauty of the ocean, the colors, and the interplay with daylight. So we translate this into a basement space for the spa. Oh, this is not the last one. Okay, this is another project where the most important thing for the client was privacy and the cleanness of the space. So a combination of direct and indirect lighting to have like a very homogeneous and so. The third action is to show the light before you switch it on. This means that there are many ways to represent lighting. In this project, we can see a lighting sketch with several layers of facade and tree. And it is, in some cases, it's very useful to add also reference images from real projects, because otherwise the client or the different stakeholders, they are not going to understand what you want to explain. Another example is this technical drawing from a window lighting, and a 3D model where the materiality of the material is the most representative thing in the project. And another example, this is El Escorial, it's a UNESCO's World Heritage building. So very important to show in the reality of what you are going to look there. So in the at the left, we see the simulations. At the right, a mock-up made last week. So very similar to explain to the project, to the client. The next one is to test, to refine. I try to do as mock-ups as I can for all relevant systems. In this case, it was very important, this mock-up for the wall. Initially, the substructure was made of metal profile, so light was not homogeneous. So we did like a very quick test, and it was this substructure was replaced by a fabric glue to the wall. And this is a micro test of how material can perform with different surface finished on the same material. So this is an image projection on steel with different textures. So it's more or less accurate, the image, depending on that. The fifth key action is to handle unexpected lighting effects. This wall was initially made of wood, but finally it was steel, and the design of the lighting was already done. So hopefully there were a lighting installation from Daniel Canovar in the same space. So it was like a part of, it looked like part of the of this. We only added like honeycombs and nothing more. And the next, I think I have another example. Yeah, this is another example. It's a facade made of very shiny ceramic and very dark, so very difficult to light up this wall. And with a perimeter luminaire with a narrow beam, we tried to reach the center of this, but there were, sorry, I didn't have time, but there were like shadow gaps, like because of the reflective material. And the last key action for me is to ensure that lighting design becomes reality on site. If we want to this homogeneous, for example, in this detail, it is necessary to transmit the information to the different stakeholders, the middle worker. in that case. And this one, the aiming of luminaires was crucial because you have straight lines in for the lighting system, but a circular space. So we did the aiming luminaire by luminaire, try following like simulations very accurate to have this homogeneous in the space. And finally, when I finished that project, I tried to celebrate, capture, and share the light. Well, this is what I'm doing here. So thank you for the
Fantastic presentation. Thank you very much. Thank you. And now our last host in Portugal, Martina.
Yes. So we're like almost closing out. It's been great so far. And we are closing in today with Pedro Matos, who is the executive manager of OM, Osvaldo Matos Lighting Manufacturer, who is hosting us today. So thank you very much at this amazing headquarters. And his talk is The Art of Under-Delivering with Style.
Yes.
And it's a comedic twist about lighting experience that Owens lends in time. So thank you, and
Thank you.
the stage is yours.
I hope you enjoy. Tonight we celebrate the chaos of lighting, where dreams fly high and results fall a bit short. But not a failure, just a few beautiful mistakes to avoid next time. Because every lighting story needs a cast. The architect dreams, the designer adds drama, the client hesitates, the contractor improvises or innovates, and the project manager panics. So what could possibly go wrong? The classic case of measure once, improvise forever. The cutout, based on the last number he sees. The actual instruction, still sealed. Because who reads those anyway? Trimless, the architect's dream. Pure, invisible, seamless. But on site, it ends in chipped plaster and gaps that were never on the drawing. Because even invisible lighting leaves a mark when the ceiling fights back. There was a plan, lighting layers, scenes, dimming, sensors. Then the installer met the control system. And the fear took over. And the lighting designer's dream replaced by a light switch. Tiny, powerful, waterproof, glare-free, sustainable, delivering 200 lumen per watt. All that for under 20 years, please. It's not a luminaire, it's a miracle. Too bad we don't build unicorns. A trimless fixture in a perforated acoustic ceiling. No frame, no margin for error. Just plaster dust and wishful thinking. Pro tip, not every ceiling wants to be trimless. It's not rocket science, just a constant current system wired in series as it should, but somehow always turns into a crisis when fitting fails and the electrician blames the luminaire again. But when the plan misses a few luminaires, don't panic. Just improvise some extra cable, a nearby tree, and blind optimism. The function, maybe. Aesthetics, let's call it organic. Layouts, optics, drivers, dialogues, control system, all done. But now we wait. Because the architect, it's deep in debate. Snow White or Cloud White? The 2-week delay, absolutely worth it. The ceiling height was reduced again, once again, but no one told the downlights, because when the developer wants to add an extra floor, what's a few centimeters between friends? And the designer delivers balance, softness, precision. But then comes the client, can we add just one more? Because apparently real luxury is counting luminaires. Not feeling the light, just seeing it. They asked for focus lighting on the arts. He delivered a light show. No aiming, no logic, just vibes. And with a 4-meter high ceiling, those vibes are staying there probably for some time. Specified 20-degree beam angle. Installed something far wider. Now the lighting is a mess at installers under pressure. Turns out equivalent product can mean absolutely not equivalent. And behold the micro downlight, elegant, discreet, until someone forgets it has a driver. And no, it won't squeeze into that tiny hole. But fear not, the installer has a plan and a hammer. The spec called for 4 units of 1 meter, but the drawing showed a single seamless 4-meter line. Guess which one got followed? Sketches forgive, but ceilings, they don't. And the luminaire was so perfectly integrated, the painter thought, must be part of the ceiling. A few confident brush strokes later and voila. Painted optics, dripping edges, a proud painter with a not so masterpiece. It started as a beautiful balanced lighting concept. Then came value engineering. Cut fixtures, swap specs, ruined the design. Now it looks cheap. But hey, we saved money. Welcome to value engineering, proudly optimizing disappointment. And what begins as a clear vision soon bends under pressure, deadlines, and too many hands on the process. Lighting deserves attention, but it usually arrives last. The result? Gaps between expectation and reality, built step by step. And each of us tries to do our part. But in the end, the result is shared. After all the drawings, changes, and shortcuts, it's the lighting that remains, seen, felt, judged. On this International Day of Light, a reminder. Light deserves care, intention, and collaboration from start to finish. Thank you.
That was great, Pedro. Thank you so much.
I will give you a kiss.
Oh, please. Grazie. So I'm here. Can go, or I can go down here. So this was a great day today to the event. Thank you, everyone. So let's have another big round of applause of all the speakers in all the country. Thank you so much. So now it's time for Q&A, and so we open the floor to you. And Chiara, this is your turn to head.
Off you go. Thanks, Martina, and thank you, everyone. It was a really remarkable evening of ideas and inspiration. So now we're going to have a little Q&A session. We will take questions to all of the speakers, and please remember to raise your hand so that I can see the queue. Okay, I think I need to remove the spotlight so I can see the queue and all of the participants. Right, and everyone also online, if you like, you can turn on your camera so we can see you guys. And yeah, who's first with question? If there is no question in queue just yet, okay, we still have people joining online. If there is no question just yet, I have a question for Gabriel in Greece. Is Gabriel available? Okay, it's gonna take a little time. Maybe meanwhile, all of the speakers can go closer to the microphone. And thanks, Gabriel. My question to you would be, okay, so when you go back with your feedback to the lighting designers, what do they say usually? How do they welcome your feedback, knowing your background, or how is it?
Well, I always try to give feedback, but I serve it in a way which is kind of polite because I've been in their shoes. So I might ask the question how something happened. I wouldn't judge things. Because on occasion I've had projects where things went completely wrong and it wasn't the designer's sort of fault. So when I see something that doesn't work in the photos, I'll ask the designer first what happened. They'll definitely have a 10-minute answer for that. And then they'll moan a bit, we'll have a drink about it, and then we'll fix it in post. But usually it's, usually the projects actually turn out quite great. So it's, yeah, I try to give honest feedback, but I know why things happen in a way, because I've been a designer myself. I'm not sure if that answers your question.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks. And I think, Anna, you had a question as well?
Yes, I did. I have a question for Joanna. We'll be passing on questions. Thank you, Gary. That was
So,
an honest
Joanna
answer.
in Lisbon.
To attest to that. So my question for Joanna was the case scenario where you think your design is done, but then the interior designers appear, I will say, that you mentioned. How do you address that? And especially since I've understood so late in the construction stage of the project.
Yeah, well, we always with good intents, like the trying to
Joanna, sorry, 1 second. Give us 1 second. Adoni, we are good. Yeah.
I think, I mean, the most important thing is to try to remember that actually the goal.
Greece
No?
is experiencing a few technical issues today. Adoni, it's Porto.
Can you hear? Hello? Ah. Hello, hello. 1, 2, 3.
Joanna, I think that you can go ahead and Anna will be able to see the recordings afterwards.
Oh, okay. Great. No, I think it's to keep the goal of, okay, let's try to find ways and be creative. I think, I mean, in that case that I'm thinking now with the example, we tried to fix it through dimming, so through the control system. I think we have to use our know-how exactly on those situations. It's where it's precious, you know. Be creative and try to fix things with what we have. Work with the different layers. Let's try to dim this as much as possible. I mean, ultimately, maybe in my head, I wanted to say, can you take all of this off, please? But it was just not going to be what the client wanted to hear. So I think we have to try to work with what's there, using our know-how, our creativity. It's our best, and be collaborative with our colleagues, with the team. What do you think about this? Because the best ideas in this urgencies come from collaboration as well, I guess. And someone's going to have a good idea. And then to try, I think most of all, to show to the client, to the architect, to the project team that we are there to help and not to just, want things to be perfect and exactly how we designed, because these things are always going to happen. So yeah, I think make good use of our knowledges, of our ideas, and have a goodwill, I think.
Thank you very much, Joanna. And then, since we are in Lisbon, just a quick question to Pedro. Just a quick one. It's thanking him for the wonderful presentation. I never enjoyed the presentation by a manufacturer so much in my life. That was awesome. We should go to all of the clients meeting like that, if I may suggest. But just a quick question. Would you like to share who did the wonderful illustrations for you?
Yes, the wonderful illustrations were made by a Portuguese artist from close to Lisbon, I think, Almada, that we searched for 3 or 4 possibilities and we choose him. His name is Walter. We can send you the Instagram. And yeah, that's it. It was really nice to work with him, really fast, because we didn't have the time to have the ideas, the text, the images. But our team, Anna and Beatriz, made an incredible job with him. So this was a teamwork. So that's what we normally try to do.
Nice to credit everyone, but awesome job. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
All right. I just want to remind the audience online that please feel free to ask questions either coming up or texting on the chat. And at this point, I would also have a question for Lisa in Milan.
I don't have a question, but you say my name so very badly that I completely ignored that you were calling me out.
No problem, Ivica. I'm just gonna call for a question to
we
Lisa.
don't have any questions.
And the question to Lisa at the moment is, what do you actually do when you go on site and try not to scream when you see what they do with your super nice drawings that I know you do, with all the details, with all the technical specification you make? How don't you scream, and what do you actually say when you realize they did something so wrong?
I take the time, first of all, to read, because it's really complicated when you go on site and see that for some situation, the people destroy your work. But I think that is very helpful to know the way to solve the problem directly on site. So I think that is a more interesting way to adjust the nightmare, because we try to solve directly inside with the team, because we are not alone. We work with the electrician, with the engineer, with all the people that work directly inside. And I love the site work because it's very nice to see directly the effect of the light. And I think it's a work of patience, because it's important to have a lot of patience, because we must try to solve without expensive solution, with a simple way the problem, and we try to do our best to obtain the result that we want. Some things is possible, in some situation is not possible. And recently we have done a punch list of about 15 pages because there's a lot of detail that must be changed. And we are waiting to know if the millwork changed the wrong detail or not.
Awesome. Sometimes I forget I'm muted. Meanwhile, I'm checking on the chat.
I do have a question though, if I can, since we are here in Italy. I have a question for Susanna. Since she told us about being stuck, I'm really curious about how she got out. So I leave the word to her.
Hi. So I was running during my presentation, but what happened is that the hotel actually was closed. I managed to get in, but I was the only person in that hotel. There was no personnel. I leave my phone outside and the whole story, and I don't know what I do, but the handle breaks and I'm inside. I don't have clothes. I don't have a phone. There are no windows. And so I try to break the door and the door doesn't break. And I have the handle in my hands. But I'm not only a lighting designer, I'm an architect. And as you know, a handle is made of two parts. The one that goes out and that you should fix with a pin, and then the one with the rod that was on the other side. And I don't know how I did it, but that rod had a few millimeters that were before, you know, the second part would fall. And I had had a beer the night before. And I still had, you know, the little piece, the metal part was in the bathroom. I don't know why. And with that thing, little by little, I got the rod inside, was able to put the handle again, open that door and escape. Couldn't believe it. It was one of the worst experiences. Yeah.
Oh my God. So
The night
everyone
service.
plan very carefully where you sleep when you go for site visit. Lesson learned.
Exactly. This is and exactly. But the
Lesson learned.
mistake was from the hotel that accepted my booking. Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay.
Anna, you look like ready to speak. Do you have a question over there? Anna?
Anna, I have a question. Glad you made it out of that toilet for starters. Do we have still Susanna? Great. So my question is whether you've done a lot of public work, public sector work, and a lot of private work as well. When it comes to hiccups, mismatches of specifications, and generally arriving on site and discovering a very different reality, do you see a difference between the public sector and the private sector? And if so, what is that?
Well, you know, I don't have that much experience with the private sector, but I have less. But for example, the Cascina was a private client. Things are very different also because in the private sector, things go much faster, you know, where you have more freedom, you know, the things are going to be finished much quicker. And in the public sector, the risk of mistakes is much bigger because sometimes the people that are responsible for, you know, in the whole process, they change. I have projects that go on for 10 years. And in the meantime, no one knows anymore what the scope of the work was or what is actually exactly going on. And one of the examples is that bridge and that staircase, you know, suddenly too many suicides. That's awful, but that's the truth. And no one thinks that you need a tie rod. And you know, and just the coordination in public works is just is very difficult. And you need a lot of patience and think that maybe it's not so bad what's going on. And yeah, accept a lot of mishaps and say, okay, did my best.
Exactly. Thank you, Susanna.
Yeah.
All right. And then I have like a double question for both speakers in Madrid. So if we can have audio in Madrid. Okay, so thank you so much for being with us today. I've been wondering, by looking like at the two different approach of your presentation, if you guys also work together sometimes, and if you deal with situation the same way by, you know, balancing each other, or if it was just my impression.
Yeah.
We do work together. We're in the same team here in Madrid. Yeah, I mean, it could be perceived as black and white presentations, but yeah, indeed, you know, it's part of lighting design. Sometimes you have to talk about concepts. Sometimes you have to talk about project deliverables and delivering that concept. So I think it's a mix. We both. It's not that I do one thing and see it as another thing. We do both things. No? So.
Yeah, I decided to do this topic because actually I did not have enough images for errors. I did many of them during the installations, but I did not collect like 20 images. So I said like, okay, let's try to do something different and yeah, different approach.
All right, thanks a lot. I know we have a question from Martina. I can see her.
Can you see me?
Yes.
Hello. Yes, I have a question for Marco. So if we can actually go to Pula, if that's possible.
Finally.
Hello.
Hey.
Thank you for your Thank you for your presentation. It was super nice. And
you.
I mean, everything you shown to me, there were somehow for me there were no mistakes. But I understand what your points of view are. To me, they were still super beautiful. So I was intrigued by how you actually handle, not like I see your expectation needs to be matched and the one of your team, but how you actually, if you ever had to handle clients or public expectation with your work, or if they were big as I was, like just like, oh, it's beautiful anyways.
Oh, that's a good question. Well, it definitely depends. On some of the projects, we had a problem that actually the marketing and the PR did a really too much of the expectations. And of course, the audience used to it, like they expect like really big things, I don't know, really big mappings, some of the things. One of the projects that I showed that actually I'm really proud of is the one with the analog lighting system, and it was only a minute and a half. What actually happened there, the PR agency wrote around the whole Istria, like never seen project from Visualia, it's amazing, blah, blah, blah. In the end, when the audience saw it, they booed us because they expected some shiny mappings and things like that. So it was kind of depressing for us, definitely. So that was kind of a strange feeling, but I mean, in the end, we do this kind of art. I would say all of us, we do it for ourselves first, and then we do it for the audience, which is really important. But of course, we'll always think about it, how the audience will affect on it. Yeah, thanks.
Super. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Marco. Since we are in Pula, can you please bring on stage the architects?
Yeah.
Oh, they are there. Okay.
Yeah, both of them.
Thanks a lot, guys. I have actually two questions. One is very brief. We are always very curious about what the architects think of us. It's like, how do you feel in this room today? Also virtual room, plenty of lighting designers or lighting passionate people. That was the quick question. And then another one, I know Dennis following us from far is at a complicated week, let's say. and you said we always work with him in lighting, so we are super comfortable. We have nothing to complain about, and we don't have bad experience in lighting. I almost believe you, but maybe you could tell us an advantage of working with him, if you'd like to share.
But for the first thing is that we start to work at the beginning. So the first draw, the first sketch, the first word, we start to talk with Dan, and then the project go easily on. And then all the trouble that happened, we solve it with discussion
And also maybe what is will be strange for you is that Dan is not only the lighting designer in these projects. He's also a co-author with us. So Dan is he has a very broad interest and in design. So, and it's very valuable when we collaborate with him. So he's not only the part of the lighting design, but the whole design process. And then it's easier also for us, because he understands every part of every architectural part of the design.
Awesome feedback, and lovely to close with you guys, because unfortunately our time is run out. So before leaving you, I just have a couple of more things to share. Pity is I have no clue how to share my screen again. That is very interesting. Sorry. Oh my gosh, in this view, I don't know where is the share screen. Here, found it. Sorry, guys. All right, so I would like to thank again and ask all of you a last round of applause for our 10 billion brilliant speakers. So thank you so much. And then to our dedicated team of IALD staff here represented by Audrey, our chapter coordinators and organizers, including LIRC Ambassador Ivica and our country hosts. So before you go, if you are in Athens, you are welcome for cocktails at the Maria Callas Museum Terrace, thanks to our sponsor Loon. And then same in Pula at the wonderful House of Light, thanks to Let Lux, who's a proud member of the LIRC. And then in Milan, where you also be able to attend the light experience, if you wish, by Guzzini, another proud member of the LIRC. And then in Madrid, besides drinks, thanks to Verona, you will also have a chance to attend the night walk. I'll say more in a minute. And finally, in Porto, drinks offered by OM, another proud member of the LIRC, who we also thank for hospitality. And as I mentioned, the immediate next event co-organized by the Southern European Chapter of the IALD is a night walk tonight. Congratulations and thanks to the APDE and the Slow Light too. And also, everyone, please save the date for our next event, supported by the Southern European Chapter of the IALD. It's going to be in Milan on the 29th of May, Progettare il Progettista, and obviously our amazing annual conference, IALD and Lighting in Valencia in June. And please visit IALD.org for our event calendar and other resources. And if you are not already, consider becoming a member of the IALD. And that's all on our side. It's been an incredible experience. Sorry for some technical issues so far. Thank you for your patience and thank you for being such an amazing audience. Until next time, keep innovating, keep collaborating, and keep lighting the way. Good night, everyone.